Oh, Zara is literally
I hate
my worst
Zara
nightmare.
so much. I freaking hate Zara. Every cute girl on Pinterest is like, where'd you get this from? Zara.
Funny that you said that, because when we walked into this interview and sat down and you guys said you love my bodysuit, and I said, thanks, it's from Zara.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
No,
That didn't trigger me.
Kristina Raeann, welcome to RealPod. This has been a long time coming.
I know, I'm so excited. I feel like we've been talking about this since last Coachella.
We've known each other for years now.
I know.
The time flies.
How did you guys meet? I don't even know how you met
We
originally.
first met at the panel that we did for
Oh,
Revolve.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we saw each other again at Coachella.
Yeah. The boys bonded.
I know, the boys did bond. Steve's always like, I love Max. He's a cool
I
kid.
know,
It's
Max
really
says
cute.
that about Steve too, because there's not many like guys who are just normal brought to these things that aren't like influencer men that
So
are like
true.
just don't like kind of robots.
Yeah, like they're Instagram husbands kind of, but not really. Like they don't actually fit the prototype.
Right. They're there like wishing they could be anywhere else. And then Raeann, we had never met, but you've done a lot with one of my best friends, Ella, and so I feel like I've seen you through her content and just glad to put a face to a name.
I know. I'm glad to finally be here. This is so fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. And in thinking about like what even to talk about today, the first thing I thought was, I'm sure all of us can relate, and you guys have mentioned this on your own podcast, Confident Collective, to a desire to be like past all of the body image stuff. And I don't want to say advocating, because we love advocating and helping other people, but like just a life outside of like the body image issues or eating disorder. Do you guys have eating disorders? I had one.
No.
Okay, well, that's great for y'all. I'll talk about mine on your podcast. Just, to be like moving through your life past this being like every single thing everyone asks or says to you about. I mean, do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think like I've definitely had conversations. Christina and I kind of actually have different opinions on this sometimes. I felt like I had to be banging on about it all the time. Like if I had a photo I wanted to post in a bikini, I felt like almost like I had to talk about like the rolls on my stomach, or that I don't have a flat stomach, or the cellulite. And I just was like, kind of like, why can't I just post this and not have to say that? And I think a lot of women who are in larger bodies feel that when it's like, you get a comment, oh, you're so brave, like to wear that or to do that. But if someone in a smaller body did that, there would never be that comment. So sometimes I just wish like we could get to a point where we don't have to be making it about our bodies all the time. But I do think on that same, like on the other side of the coin, like there's still so much work to be done. So those conversations need to be had.
Yeah, I see both sides of it as well too, because I don't think that you have to comment and almost like make an excuse for existing in your body. However, right now, like this is the first time in a long time I have felt insecure in my body, and I think I'm just going through like postpartum stuff. I had a baby 4 months ago that just kind of just made me like feel insecure for the first time, honestly, in like several years, that I'm like, wait, no, seeing that representation, seeing people talk about it actually really helps me a lot too. So I think that I just like being that representation for other people too.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you said that you're currently in a place where you're feeling a bit insecure. I just had that. It was really, and it's odd because, you do so much work. People look to you for your confidence and the things that you say. So then when you have those weeks or months, you're like, what is going on with me? This is not me. And mine was more around food. I had a binge eating disorder. So when I catch myself overthinking what I'm eating and thinking, oh, Max must think I'm eating a lot, or he's looking at me. And then my voice is like, okay, well, we can eat this later. And then I'm like, oh no, then we're going to start creating the secrecy. And then that's going to lead to the binge and the restriction. Yeah. But I found that when I spoke it to him and I was like, this is really weird, but I am super in my head about what you're thinking about me and my body. And that just conversation, I was like, whoo, okay. And it really helped things, what's the word for not intensify? What's the opposite of intensify?
Ameliorate.
Okay, that's...
Wait, I'm impressed.
That's going to clearly not sound like a word that can come from my brain. But thank you, Christiana. We're going to leave that in. So, yeah, chameleon-y.
I was going to say de-escalate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's probably true. It helps things de-escalate. What did you do that's kind of helped you?
Okay, well, that's really interesting because I always say I feel like talking to Steve, like he is my rock. He helps me like just see things from an outside perspective and get out of my head. But honestly, I think for me, it's just so hormonal that I'm just like trying to show myself grace. But I have found myself being so insecure in so many ways and comparing myself to others. And yeah, like I feel like insecure in my body at times, but not to the point where like I want to change anything or like it doesn't affect my mood. I'm just like, okay, like I've looked better before. But it's more of just like this overall comparison that I find myself doing to like everything and everyone. And I just don't feel like myself. And I think that's just very much honestly like going through it postpartum wise.
And because you mentioned comparison and that you didn't want to change, so are you comparing yourself to people who are like in your space, or you're looking at the society beauty standard?
Both. Okay, so I'm comparing people that are in my space, like career-wise. I find myself doing that a lot too. People who don't have kids. But then I'm also comparing myself to myself. So, okay, I just had a baby, and I'm like the only pregnant person to lose weight while they're pregnant. Like I had my baby and was 25 pounds lighter than when I got pregnant. And it was just weird. So when I had my baby, everyone was like, oh my gosh, like you look so good. Or like, oh my gosh, like my family or people would say things like, what are you doing to like maintain your weight now that you've lost this weight?
I can't believe people say that to you given your whole career.
I know, it's so crazy.
Are they not reading anything you post?
No, I don't think they are. Or they like don't believe it, or they just have their own work to do, I guess. But so I think that really got to me. So then I ended up gaining weight again, like, and I got back to my normal weight that I was when I first had baby. And like, by the way, I lost 20 pounds because I just get really sick while I'm pregnant. And so then I almost like at times I was like, wait, like it almost made me feel like a failure a little bit, but not because of like how I felt. It was just because I was internalizing what other people were saying.
Mm-hmm. And Raeann, are you in a relationship?
No, I'm single.
Well, I think that's great. I want to throw that into the mix because we mentioned how bouncing things off of our partners were helpful. What does that make you think? And like, who are you talking to? Are you working through it yourself or best friend?
I mean, honestly, it's so funny. Like, kind of on the relationship thing, I always like talk about how that with like dating men, like that is my biggest insecurity. Like, that's what brings out where I feel the most self-conscious about my body. Like, we just had this whole pool party with all these women, and like when I'm in my career and with like girls like you guys, like I feel so confident, and then I get around men and in like a romantic dating setting, that is where I struggle the most. But I really rely on like my female friendships are so important to me, and I know Victoria, your female friendships are huge for you as well. Like that is where I don't have a partner, and that's where I really rely on when I'm kind of like struggling with confidence, which, to be honest, similar to Kristina, like it has been, the last few months have been like tough for me too. Like I feel like so much pressure with all this talk around like Ozempic, just seeing like the Kardashians. Like I feel like so many people are just like drastically losing weight. And it is like, I'm like, whoa, like I'm thinking about it more than I have in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Which is totally human. It's literally every time we pull out our phones.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't weigh myself. And so another thing that popped into my mind recently was this: I haven't weighed myself. So technically I have no idea if I have gained weight. What if I have and everyone around me thinks it and no one's saying anything? And oh my God, I'm like, Max totally thinks it. Like, and this is, but which is also annoying because I feel like I've done so much work to try to, improve the internalized fat phobia and encourage myself that weight gain isn't a bad thing and I don't have to be thinner. And then it's like this voice in your head that you don't feel like aligns with you anymore, but when it sees the door crack open, it just loves to dive in.
Yeah. But I think it's good to like just even vocalize that, like you said that you did with Max the other day, because it's like I feel like you like preach this stuff and you feel like I am so confident, I feel good, and then you almost have like imposter syndrome because then you're like, wait, but I like am having these thoughts, and it's like that is so normal. And I think too, if someone is listening to this and they struggle with their confidence, it's a kind of intimidating to look at someone and be like, well, she never, like, she always just feels good, she always, like, she doesn't struggle at all. Like, I just think that's a little bit unrealistic.
Yeah.
And like, it's good to vocalize it so we know, like, okay, we're a community in this and you're not just alone thinking like you're going crazy.
Yeah, I feel like we always say confidence is a journey, right? Like it ebbs and flows through the different stages of life. And I feel like it's okay if you're going downhill a little bit because you'll like find yourself right back up there.
Such an important point. I'll even have, sometimes when I speak about eating disorders or body image, someone will come up at the end and say, I was doing so well, and then I just, had this incident or these thoughts, or I looked at the calories, and now I'm like, I can't believe I did that. And it almost feels like you have that diet voice of, well, everything went to shit, so now I have to start from square one. And it's like, no. If we're viewing it like a line, you're just not going to get to the top and then never have problems again with your body or food. It's going to be this wave, but on an upward trajectory.
100%.
And it's about like the fact that, these thoughts that I was having, and similar to what you guys were saying, I was able to talk through them, think through them, be compassionate and patient with myself. And it was only an odd 2 weeks. And now I feel like, oh my gosh, okay, I feel like myself again. Whereas before, that could have led to months of a spiral.
Wait, can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you keep saying like, what is Max thinking? What is Max thinking? I feel like Max is like your biggest cheerleader and so supporter. So like, why are those negative thoughts like towards him?
So great question. And it's not just about, it's not Max specifically. I think it would be anyone I live with who's watching me eat. And it comes from, I think, like, growing up in my household, and maybe you can relate to your Greek.
Gosh, I feel like we have the same. Okay, continue.
Just sometimes the comments would make me feel so much shame of like, you're really gonna have more? Or like, I grew up with 2 brothers, and it was like they would literally get bigger servings than me just because I'm the girl and I shouldn't eat as much as them. So the judgment of other people on what I'm eating, and look, I had a super loving family, and I would not blame my eating disorder or body image issues on anyone else but myself. But for me, it's like if there were to be a comment made, it would just feel like a wave of like a tsunami towards me. And I think for Max, because I love him so much and he is so amazing, I build up in my head, if he says one thing to me, I'm gonna be like, I'm never gonna be able to trust you again, which he hasn't. Like in college, before I really opened up to him about my issues, he made like one comment. I had told him about a food that I binge ate, Cliff Bars, and I made a joke one time where I was like, can't leave me with the Cliff Bars, like, when you just shit on yourself. And he thought that was funny. And then like a week later, we were in a gas station and there were Cliff Bars, and he said something like, watch out for the Cliff Bars. And I was like, not funny when you say
You're
it.
like, only I can say that.
I'm like, that's a code red. And I had to just tell him, like, and I think that's completely innocent. Like, he made the joke that I made and laughed at.
Yeah.
And so then I explained to him, like, you can't do that. And he completely understood. And he's so receptive. I think it is my own insecurity of how small I would feel, even though I know I'm responsible for my own feelings.
No, I understand that, and I feel like our upbringings were probably really similar. I just feel like there's something about the Greek culture.
Does your yaya still fill you up every time you hug her? Because mine does.
Well, God bless her. She is no longer with us, but yes, pretty much. I was saying my grandfather, my papu, is going to be 100 years old in September.
Wow.
And he will comment on my appearance during FaceTime across the country. Like, it's crazy. Like, you see him, he'll be like, oh, páginas, like, which means like you gained a little weight. Or he'll be like, you have like a pimple. Why do you have that? And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I feel like for me, it was like, food is so important in a Greek household.
Yes.
But like, not if you eat too much of it. Like, have more, but like, don't gain any weight.
Yeah.
So I always find myself being like, I always feel like I'm being watched if I'm like getting seconds. Is that? I don't know if you feel like that.
I think the watched thing, definitely. But I think this is important to share for anyone who's listening as well. Like, my yaya loves me so much, and I don't think she's, toxic or anything like that. But she grew up in a different time.
100%.
Where literally, I'm sure 50% of what her and her friends talked about was being thin, was food, was image. And in a way, that type of conversation almost is how you connect with women. Like, if imagine some of these women that we still know, if you couldn't talk about what you didn't like about your body, what you were eating, who looked pretty, like if you couldn't talk about anything in that realm, what would you talk about? And a lot of people, they don't have an answer for that, and they don't even have what they would say to themselves, because their whole dialogue with themselves is about body and food. So that's why I've kind of developed sympathy for, my yaya is, she doesn't, like, that is what she was raised on.
Yeah, I have learned to like not be defensive about it anymore, because I think for a while I thought it was like a personal attack, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, this isn't even about me. This is like their own dialogue. This is like how they grew up. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's so interesting because I've heard Kristina talk a lot about this, and it's I growing up. I mean, my parents are from like Colorado and Detroit. Like, they're not like, I'm very much American, and like food doesn't have the same like cultural aspects around like hearing how Kristina, like food was such a thing where it like brought people together, and you know, I'm sure your mom was like, have more, but then it's like just it's very interesting. But I will say, growing up, my dad always taught us to like clean our plate, which now as I've kind of like gotten older and thinking about my eating habits and that sort of thing, like I definitely have had to work on like not eating to a point where I like feel sick, or like I'll eat to clean my plate and I'm like, because it's just embedded in my brain, and I'm like, wait, I'm full, why can I not stop eating? Like, it's actually crazy when you start to think about how much of an impact those things have on you when you like wouldn't even think about it growing up. Like your dad's like, you know, clean your plate, like, and the ripple effect that has is kind of crazy.
That was something that I struggled with as well, just from a place of, you know, don't waste food. What about people who would love to have this food? And actually, the time I had a breakthrough with it, I was reading Breaking Free from Emotional Eating by Janine Roth, and the chapter was literally titled, "What About the Starving Children?"
Wait, I need to read this.
It was transformative, this analogy she gives. Basically, she explains, once you are full, your body doesn't need any more nutrients or fuel from food. The food has already become waste. I know that's like sounds like a negative word, but because when you eat it, it's not going to be adding to your body's energy or your satisfaction because you've reached max capacity. So the food is already waste. Now it can either be waste in a Tupperware jar for tomorrow or the trash, or it can be waste that you then put into your body. And when I think about it that way, I'm like, okay, the food no longer has a purpose, and it's not going to make it more real if I shove it down my throat when I'm already uncomfortably full, or I like save it for later. And so that has been helpful for me because I'm like, okay, I'm not the one wasting it. It is already not purposeful in this moment because I'm full and satisfied.
Interesting.
Yeah. What does that make you think?
No, I just have never thought of it that way, because it's not bringing your body anything by just...
You already have enough fuel and energy.
Right. Yeah.
So the food is not doing anything.
Interesting. I need to read that.
It's weird to have this conversation while also being a parent and trying to feed a kid.
Right.
Because it's like, wait, like you want them to eat and you're concerned, and it's like, no, like have another bite. And then my son will be like, no, like I don't want that. And it's like, wait, okay. Like it's hard to be like, fine, like listen to him, like if he doesn't want to eat anymore. But then I also see like the side of like the parent too, being like, have some more food, you need this, you know? So I like that point of view of like, okay, if he's full, like this is waste. I
think it's interesting though when you're a mom, because kids don't really know their hunger cues, and you're trying to help them grow, and you're working with the doctors on height and weight. And I think that is like a different situation, because as much as I would love to believe kids are intuitive eaters, I had a doctor on from Kids Eat in Color, and she talked all about helping kids understand their hunger cues and have a healthy relationship with food. And I mean, yeah, that's a completely different animal.
So Nicholas, you better eat your food, okay?
At least he loves spinach.
He likes spinach.
My kid loves spinach.
Yeah, they definitely, and they need that encouragement because they are just probably thinking of taste, and they can't recognize, you know, what the broccoli is going to do in their body for them. And so you do have to help them eat it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. That makes me feel better. Being like, have one more bite.
I can't even imagine having to help a kid eat and then also be like probably subconsciously assessing your own relationship with food.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I do think overall I have a good relationship with food. So I think for me, I just like, I love to eat, and that food is definitely a love language for me as well. And I feel like I show love by making great meals for my family. I definitely get that from my mom, and I want to incorporate my sons in that as much as possible. So like Nicholas cooks with me all the time, and like we eat together. But I honestly try to like not think that much of it.
Yeah. Raeann, I want to revisit what you said about sometimes feeling insecure only in the dating setting. I'm curious what the reason is, and if it's almost similar to kind of what I was saying about Max, like that it's, you want them to know you're completely happy with your body and there's no future where like you want them to comment or insinuate change, but then you also probably don't know, like, I mean, what do you assume with the average guy you go on a date with?
I mean, it's hard because like you think about like a traditional dating setting now, like a lot of times it is at like in situations at like bars or out, or it's a lot of times where you meet people, especially I live in New York, so like everyone's drinking and at bars all the time, like that is what you do. And we actually did an episode on this because about, oh my gosh, it was like over a year ago now, but I had like a breakdown because I just kept seeing this pattern of like what men were attracted to, it was always my thinner friends. If I was going out, like, I never got approached, like, and also I'm 5'11" too, so like I'm just like a tall big girl, like, and I like love that now. Like, I'm like, I am an Amazonian woman. Like, my dad told me that when I was like 16, and I was like, oh my God, that's not helping, Dad. I don't want to be an Amazonian woman, but now I embrace it. But anyway, I digress. But I guess, like, to be honest, I go back and forth, and I'm working through this, so I'll just talk it through, because I think it's fine not to have like a completely like everything figured out. But like, I do think that men sometimes are more behind than like women are with these conversations, and like maybe I need to give them more credit. But like, in my experience, like, men are the ones who have treated me differently because of my size, more so than women. Like, the first time I told a guy I liked him, he said, "How much do you weigh?" Like, so I think things happen throughout your life, and I think I need to work on letting go of some of that. But it is hard, like, when you are out, and I think I've talked to other friends about this too, like, and you seem to always be passed over. You're like, okay, what is the common factor here? And I do think you are treated differently because of your size sometimes, especially when it comes to men and dating. But at the same time, I do think there are men out there who will love me. I look at people, you know, like Kristina and her husband, and other people who are in loving relationships in a bigger body. And that's so, like, I'm like, fuck yeah, like, there are guys out there. And I just need to continue working on myself and like feeling good in my body and attracting those men who are going to love me for who I am.
As one of her best friends, what does it make you think, and do you reflect on your dating period?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell her, because I see both sides of it too.
She's always like, you're putting that out there.
I do sometimes think she's putting that out there, but when I think about like dating, and I think about when I was younger, like in college, I always felt like that as well. I was like, wait, I have all these great relationships, like all these guys I'm like good friends with, they think I'm funny, like, why does no one ever want to go after me? Like, why is it always my other friend? And then this one time, like, one of my best guy friends, I was complaining to him about it, and he was like, Kristina, you're an alpha female, and like, you don't want any of these guys, like, they literally wouldn't know what to do with you. You need like an alpha male, you need like the right guy. And I feel like I found my person, and I feel like you will too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just feel like these guys that maybe are passing over you, you're like, you don't even want them anyways. You know what I mean? They're
filtering out themselves.
They're filtering out themselves, exactly. So yeah. I kind of see both sides of it, but I do kind of feel like there's an energy you put out.
But I do say, I feel like I have done a lot of work to be putting out like confident energy.
You do
and
that.
And you know, I just think it's like the reality sometimes of like dating as a curvy girl or plus size woman, like there are different factors to it.
Yeah.
You know who does this, and it is a magical superpower? Ella. I have not had a friend in my life where every time we go out without fail, 4 to 5 dudes she can choose from when she walks in. And I watch her, and it's so inspiring for me because she like truly has developed this aura that's like I said, I don't have a friend that pulls harder than Ella. And I just think it has a lot to do with energy. Like,
no, I do think aura is a big thing. That's what Steve says, and I think it's like actually really annoying sometimes. I'm like, what is that? But my husband,
Steve's always like, it's the aura.
He was like, he'd be like, what attracted you to Kristina? He was like, it was her aura, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, and obviously Ella's fucking stunning, so I would expect nothing less than like everyone drilling over her. And she has
but
this.
So is Ray.
Yes.
No, but I mean, I've gone out with Ella too, and like that girl is so confident. We fucking love it. Maybe we all need to go to Camp Ella and learn how to pull.
I think another part of this conversation is just like the pressure on women to find a partner and to settle down.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that from family or from friends, or I feel like we are in this new era where I actually saw this TikTok where a woman was like, me at 30 with no man and kids looking around for all of the depressed loneliness I was supposed to be experiencing, because she's not.
She's thriving.
Thriving. I mean, I don't feel any pressure from my family. I don't feel pressure from my friends. If anything, when I do feel pressure, it's from myself, because like at the end of the day, I do want a partner. But I would say I feel very lucky that like most of my friends, like a lot of them are single, which does help. I think when I start to feel pressure is when like more people around me start getting into relationships, and I'm like last summer, like every one of my friends was in a relationship. Christina's always married. She's always been married since I knew her, so Steve's just like
she's washed.
Part of the gang. But I was like, oh my god, like no one told me we were getting into relationships. Like that's when I feel pressure. But also I do just think it's really silly how much pressure we put on romantic relationships, and that's like with the Confident Collective and like everything we do, like female community and female friendships is so important, and honestly has been like life-changing for me. And I think it is kind of just like silly how much pressure we put on just romantic relationships. Like we only celebrate when you get engaged, when you get married, and like there are so many women out there who are doing incredible badass things, buying houses on their own, like fucking having kids on their own, doing so much, and they don't get celebrated because they're doing it alone, which I just think is stupid.
And I think it's better to go at your own pace than get into a relationship because everyone is, and be wasting time with someone who's not endgame.
Yeah.
That to me, like I'm a big never settle, like find that person.
Yeah, same.
Do you guys have any things that come up for you now with body image or confidence that are like maybe triggers for you, or things that you avoid because you know like it's just not like helpful or doesn't keep the peace? And then I think on the other side of that, what are like some of the boundaries or things you've set up to kind of maintain a positive relationship with yourself? Because I know I've certainly done that.
I think for me, like the biggest boundary I have just set is with people in my life to like not comment on their bodies or not comment on my body, because I feel like I wake up happy and I wake up confident, and it's not until someone like says something to me that I'm like, why would you ever make a comment about my body? So setting up those boundaries with my family has really helped me a lot.
For me, if I'm not having a great body day, like I'm not going to try on a bunch of clothes, and I'm going to go for like an outfit that I know is tried and true.
I find myself really struggling to shop right now. And honestly, I have for like the past couple of years. And I feel like something I just need to stop doing is going to the mall. Literally.
Every time you go to the mall, I'm like, why the hell are you going to the mall?
I know, but I don't learn my freaking lesson. And I guess like, I don't know why I like to do it, but I cannot go shopping in a mall. I cannot find a single thing that fits me. And no matter how confident I am to like go into fitting room after fitting room and nothing fit, it takes me back to when I was like 16 years old looking for prom dresses, like crying in every fitting room because nothing fits. So I feel like I still do this to myself, but as we're talking about it, I'm like, that is something I need to stop. Because even if I like order a bunch of things and I try them on at home and they don't fit, I'm like, whatever, like their loss. But for some reason, being in a fitting room, in a store with nothing working, like definitely triggers me.
And it's just so...
And I'm a size XL 14, like what the heck?
Yeah.
Like clothes should be fitting. Like I mean, you should find clothes no matter what your size is, but the fact that like as an extra large, I can't go into a mall with hundreds of stores and find one article of clothing is a serious freaking problem. I'm infuriated right now. We need to change this.
Yeah. And what do you think like the steps are to that? Obviously there's awareness and there's talking about it. Is there a world where like your hope is for women in smaller bodies to boycott stores or to like bring the concern? And honestly, I'm just gonna call myself on shit too. I do feel really embarrassed and bad if I link something and it doesn't go past XL. I'm like, this is fucked, Vic, because there's people, I don't want anyone to click on a link of something I'm wearing and not see a bigger size. But sometimes when you see the ad pop up and you really like the thing and it looks cute, you order it. And I'm like, should I stop doing that?
I don't place blame on smaller friends at all. Absolutely not. I don't think, like, I understand the whole idea of boycotting and like maybe that will help get the message across
like, how
the brands.
Is Brandy Melville still in business? I walked past one the other day. I can't fit into anything at Brandy Melville.
I don't think I would like be able to fit into anything there past the age of 5. Are you kidding me? Like
the age of 5.
No, I was like 14, size 14 when I was in high school too.
The fact that I walked past one the other day and was like, it's 2023 and there's just a Brandy Melville here and no one, like, we just whatever. But I have thin privilege in that I only recognize it when I pass the Brandy Melville. Whereas as you're saying, when you go to the mall, whereas when I go to the mall, I'm not thinking about it, which is the thin privilege. And then I feel shitty when I think about that. And then I'm like, I'm part of the problem because I'm just going with a system that benefits my body.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't think you're part of the problem. I think that there's only so much that we can do. And I think that for me, like what I try and do is just continue to advocate for brands that have more inclusive sizing and just share as much of that as possible. Because like for me, sometimes I find myself too, I'm like, why am I even supporting brands where I can find like fit into their size XL and I can barely fit into it if I'm like the largest size they have.
But then it's like, it is so hard to shop. Like I think if any woman finds something that they really like and it makes them feel confident, I'm like, wear it. Like it's so hard to find something. I mean, I struggle with that too. Like the dress I'm wearing today is from Urban Outfitters and I'm wearing like the largest size that they have. But it's like when you're searching for something, it's like, yeah, how much, like what's the line, I think, of what what you can do. And I think like having a platform you can speak up and be like I always say, like, oh my gosh, I love like Reformation, for example. And I was just talking to my friend about this and I was just like, yeah, all of their cute stuff is like in their their straight sizes.
Remy just posted a video about this.
Wait, did she?
Did you see it? Literally this morning, Remy Bader posted Reformation. She goes, whenever it's cute, I click on it and it doesn't have my sizing.
Goes up to size
she goes,
12
and then I
only.
click on mine and it's all flowy and ruffly and it's none of the cute stuff.
Okay.
And none of the current like summer patterns.
Yeah,
colors,
Raeann, to validate you. Like that other
Okay,
people feel the exact
amazing.
same way.
Okay, we'll see. And I think Remy, like making a video about it, like perfect. Like, let's talk about it. But I think if you do find something, you shouldn't feel guilty about buying it and wearing it if it makes you feel good.
Yeah, and it's also so hard though too because like we're both similar sizes, but we have really different body types. I think for me, like I still like get triggered a little bit by that, like especially with stores like Zara.
Oh, Zara is literally like
I hate
my worst
Zara
nightmare.
so much. I freaking hate Zara. I have this video that has like over 30 million views, and it's me trying on the largest sizes in Zara, and not a single thing fits me. And I think why I get so infuriated with Zara is because it's in almost like every single mall in America. Like everyone shops at Zara. Every cute girl on Pinterest, it's like, where'd you get this from? Zara. And
Funny that you said that because when we walked into this interview and sat down and you guys said you love my bodysuit and I said, thanks, it's from Zara.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
No,
that didn't trigger me.
But my next thought was, why the fuck did you just say that? Because I know they're not inclusive.
But see, that doesn't bother me at all. Like that has nothing to do with you. Like to me, like I think you should be able to wear whatever you want to wear. Like I
Victoria's
encourage
sweating
that.
over there.
No,
She's
no,
like,
no.
I'm wearing-
I'm not sweating, but I do think there's a lot of people who are not even thinking. Like they'd be like, "Come to Zara with me." Like they're not thinking, and they're not aware. But I guess it's like I feel like a bad person being like, "Oh, this is such a problem and it's bad. Okay, I'm gonna go order this dress."
It's hard because it's like, what is the right answer?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think it's just continuing to bring awareness. And I feel like brands and like inclusivity has like almost like taken a step back. And I don't know if it was just performative for years and people were just like hiring curvy models or like adding a size range, and then all of a sudden like it just disappears
back
overnight.
to Ozempic when you mentioned at the beginning, like we really are pendulum is swinging back to this needle, which at a high level is another example of, speaking of auras too, it's all coming together. I love when this happens. Like the idea that society just sometimes waves a wand and says this is in and this is cool. Like I just saw on TikTok how it's like naked nail girl summer and it's now cool. Oh my God.
Wait, do we all have? Oh,
Not
do
me,
we?
Christina is behind the trend.
Mine are naked right now just because I have an appointment tomorrow, but it's in to not wear nail polish. And so a bunch of people aren't wearing nail polish. And nothing against Alex Earl and Tinks, but I was just like, whoa, the way that like anyone that we think is the determiner of what's cool can say anything and then waves people are going to follow. That's powerful. And I think if we recognize, okay, if the wave's going to change and now people are saying, don't paint your nails, that's the cool thing. Like, can we just tell ourselves what we think the cool thing is and just do that for ourselves?
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
Because it's gonna swing back and then swing back and then it's exhausting to be on the yo-yo.
No, if you spend your life trying to chase like the trend, like you will be exhausted.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a millennial, and like all my college friends were in a group chat, and I remember last year or 2 years ago, everyone was so pissed about like the side part. And people are like, you can't wear a side part. I'm like, we've worn a side part our entire freaking lives. And now all of a sudden people are like, oh, side part's back. I'm like, this is so lame. Like, wear what makes you happy. Wear what makes you feel comfortable.
And instead of wasting the time on the yo-yo, you could be finding like your own style. I think that's been something I've been working on recently because
I love your Vic fit.
Oh my God, thank you. Well, for the past 2 years, I feel like I've been really trying to evolve my style. And I have, my next year is going to be, what are the clothes that I want to wear because I want to wear them, not that they're in.
You need to do your 3 style words. Have you done that?
No.
We did. Okay, you have to follow this girl on TikTok. Oh, I forget her name.
Alison Bornstein.
Thank you. She like has, you need to define, Bronstein. This is a tangent, but you need to pick your 3 style words. And then when you're shopping or you're looking for clothes, you revert back to these style words. And you're like, okay, does this fit into this? And it just helps you be like, okay, yeah, this is me or this is not me.
What are your words?
Well, we actually did this for each other on an episode. What did you say mine were?
I said yours were unexpected, trend-driven, and sexy.
Yeah, and I said Christina's was classic. Well, you didn't like my last 2 words.
I didn't think you did a good job for me, honestly.
So honestly, Kristina needs to do her own words because she was like, oh, I don't really think.
Someone sent me.
Christina's Style, literally one day she will wear like a freaking like baby doll like little dress, and then the next day she'll be like in a leather trench and like black moto boots.
I feel like, yeah, I'm the same way. I swing from like really chic and elegant to like girly girl to then sporty.
Literally same.
But I don't know any of my words yet. I need to do this. I love it. Although I do know one word would be colorful.
Oh, yeah.
I love color. Yeah. I love rainbows. I love pastels. I love brights. And I looked at my closet like after 2 years of, filtering it out.
Oh my gosh, it was all neutral.
It's all neutral.
You gotta get some color back.
I love a neutral moment, but I think I am way more a brights, vibrant kind of girl. Like I always want to wear color. Life's too short for me to not be wearing color.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned the words because I recently have been trying to get more color. I ordered a red sweater. I got this green bodysuit. I'm like trying to wear color. I think it fits me better.
Wait, that's so funny because I'll never forget. It was my 30th birthday and I was in Paris shopping with my mom and my sister and they're both like very neutral, very chic, very classic. And I was buying a purse for myself and it was so exciting. And they were both like, you should get the black one or the beige one. And I was like, okay. And I was trying them on. I was like, this isn't me. And I ended up getting the brightest red you could find. And I was like, I love it. Like, it was just so crazy. But, like, it's so true. Like, you try to adopt everyone else's style. But if color is yours, like, go with it.
I love that story, though, because we're always asking other people for their opinions. Do you like this? Do you like that? And I had a similar experience buying a bag in Paris. And I literally, like, I'm so happy and I have no regrets. But I was swayed by, like, I literally walked into Dior, tried on the saddlebag, and was like, not for me. I got an influx of DMs saying, what, this is the best bag ever. And that overnight, I became obsessed. And then I had to sit on it. But I've recently been like, stop asking people. If you like the dress, wear the dress. It's the people pleaser in me as well. I want everyone's approval.
Oh, yeah.
So...
You know what's funny, though? As we're talking about, like, style and body image, like, the recurring theme for us is, like, outside opinions. It really affects, like, either whether it's comments from your family, like, you're thinking, like, what's Max thinking? Or, like, oh, like, getting ready for the pool party the other day, Kristina
saw that you changed so many times.
1,000 people for their opinion.
I have a problem. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what it is because I think deep down I know what the answer is. I think I just want people to validate me.
Which is fair.
Maybe.
All of us want a validation.
But even when I get the validation and I hear it, I'm still like asking more. I truly asked everyone on the internet. Called my mom twice.
You made the cutest video, and then an hour later, you were in a different outfit. I was like, wait, what?
I changed at the pool party, like 5 minutes before everyone walked in. Like I ask everyone's opinion about everything, and I don't know how to stop.
But you know what? I have compassion for that because I've been there, and you're human, and it takes a lot to put on whatever you want and really, truly not care about what other people think. It does.
Yeah. Well, Glennon Doyle talked about this in her book. She was saying, like, this was when she found out her husband was cheating, and she literally Googled what to do if your husband cheats, and her therapist was like, Glennon, you are asking, like she was asking everyone, the internet, everything. She was like, it is like a muscle you have to flex. You have to practice listening to your own intuition and just like working out, getting stronger. Like you get used to it. So it's honestly just like next time you just have to be like, okay, I'm not gonna ask anyone opinion on what I'm gonna wear. Like the thing is, like a small muscle you have to flex.
I always end up going with what I want.
I've been trying to ask a group less what they're wearing to a dinner or an event and just doing what I want. And if they feel like they have to dress nicer because of what I'm wearing or down because of what I'm wearing, that's their own thing. But I've been, on this note, trying to be like, I'm going to wear whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, been a small win. I think it's all about the small wins. Like each time we have these little things come up in life, to be like proud of yourself and validate yourself. But it is a muscle, like you said, you have to flex, but you also have to strengthen.
Yeah.
Like we're working with no muscle right now, and we have to build it.
100%.
Anyways, this was so fun. I mean, it was deep, it was inspiring, it was girl talk. You guys are the best. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having us.
Yay. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of RealPod. If this hit home or helped you in some way, send it to a friend, a teammate, roomie. Share the love, share the realness. New episodes of RealPod come out every single Wednesday, so make sure you are subscribed to this podcast so you never miss an episode.